Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Art School Live with me, Charlie Easton. Eric is still traveling, which is great because I feel like I'm taking over this thing and loving it. And I know you're all waiting for Eric to get back, and rightly so. But while I'm here, I'm going to get to invite my heroes. And today, I have got one of my absolute painting heroes coming on here. I was just saying to him in the green room there that anytime I get asked who I want to talk to or who I want to see paint, it's this guy. It's Gyurcsak. And if you don't know Joe's work, you need to go to his website. It's actually josephgyurcsak.com. And when Joe comes up, you'll see his Instagram handle, which you'll have to go and check out his work. But Joe is, I think he's one of the best painters working today. He paints in oils, he paints in acrylics. He does his brush marks. I keep going up to him whenever I see him at the plein air convention and say, how do you create such evocative brushwork? And I think he's going to touch upon a little bit of that today. So we've got a great show for you today. Let's say hi to Joe. And what are you going to teach?
I'm going to teach how to do spontaneous brushwork in a painting.
Oh, right on. And this is not his first rodeo, my friends. This is going to be a good one. All right, let's get this show rolling.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rose.
That's it. I love the way we've condensed the opening there because we got to give Joe as much time as possible. We're only giving him 45 minutes to do a demo. So I'm not going to say anything more than roll on, Joe Gyurcsak.
Okay, I'm going to switch to my easel camera. And today we are going to do a scene that is from the last plein air convention. So this scene is from the Smoky Mountain, the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, a little tribute to the artists that are there that have gone through a lot of suffering. Maybe we'll get this painting down to Richard Oversmith and we will auction it off to help the artists and the people in the area. So let's do something great with the demo. Anyway, today I have a panel. It is just 2 coats of gesso on a MDF board, and then it's toned with a raw sienna. And then on my palette of colors, I have titanium white, unbleached titanium, cad lemon, cad yellow medium, cad red light, raw sienna, and phthalo blue, green shade. So as you can see, the only cool color is going to be the phthalo green, working with a very warm palette here. And I'm going to go over not so much the color mixing, but I'll touch on that a little bit. But more important, how do we get those really expressive brush strokes in a painting? So I'm going to show you the different brushes I may be using today. So I have my little group of brushes, an inch chip brush, a half-inch chip brush, 2 synthetic brushes. Number 8 I usually use, I'm comfortable with that, and a number 2 synthetic watercolor brushes. And if I need, I use a bristle brush, a flat bristle brush. So the scene, I started to map it out a little bit. What I usually do is I look for the center point of both vertical and horizontal, and I try to stay a little bit away from them. The image that you see on the screen, that on the inset, it has this massive tree leaning towards the left, which is really beautiful. And then it has some dappled light and a figure in here. So we're going to try to get all that going. First thing we're going to do is take the the inch brush. Let's start big there. I'll wet. By the way, I'm using acrylic today. So I'm going to take the phthalo, and I'll take some of the cad yellow medium. And when you're starting with a color like that, let me just show you down here for a second. It's going to be a little too vibrant of a color with the 𝗕𝗏𝘂. So a great way to reduce that is take the raw sienna and put that right in there. Raw sienna is very good neutralizer for the 𝗕𝗏𝘂, 𝗕𝗏 blue or 𝗕𝗏 green. So I'm going to initially start with that, and I'm going to look for really big, expressive brush strokes with this inch brush. And I'll even put a little bit of water in there to make it flowing. A little dripping, which is really fun. And I'm trying not to over mix the color too. I don't know if you're getting a little glare on there.
We're getting a glare, but you can see the marks. You can see the space in the brush.
Okay, is that better? There.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, the trick is, like the Russian Impressionists, not to mix the color too much. Keep it in a value zone, but just get very expressive with these brushstrokes. So this is all the main part of the tree in the foreground. And then we'll move to a little bit more neutral. I'll put a little bit more cad red in there and a little bit more of the warmer color. And as I move this to the right side, I'll put a little bit even of the unbleached titanium. And I'm focused on staying away from those hash marks in the center. It just as a rule of thumb to get my either rule of thirds or a golden ratio. So I'm kind of I just always conscious of that when I'm starting a composition. Rules are made to be broken, but I'm trying to avoid that. So I got all these wonderful brush strokes going on already.
And are you following contour lines when you're thinking about how you're making those marks, or is there some other sort of pattern that you're sort of following?
I like it to be very random and surprising, and sometimes the unmixed color gives me a little bit of surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could twist the brush like you just saw there on the bottom, on the foreground. I'm going to take a little bit more red now and a little bit more of the 𝗕𝗏𝘂 and a little bit of the unbleached, and we'll get that very neutral. And I'll also start some of that dripping there. And as a rule of thumb, when I'm teaching in my workshops, one of the things I always say to the students is that your brush marks should include transparent, semi-transparent, and opaque brush marks. If you get that accomplished in the finished painting, that's a good sign. You're going to have a very engaging painting. If you have all opaque, all semi-transparent, transparent, it's going to be a bit boring. So you can see already I have all these wonderful drip marks going, and I absolutely love that. And I'll try to save some of that for the end of the painting. Now I'm going to put in the tree trunk. Okay, so I try to go in a very slow, somehow like controlled brush mark, putting that trunk in, but not fully trying to control it, but just having some sort of like what I term as like a slow drag to the brush. And right now everything's very wet. As I proceed in the painting, I'll get a little bit more dry brush work. But right now we're splashing it on. We're just having fun. Here's a common problem that people do. They always want to, in my workshops, I see this over and over again. People want to paint the outline of trees and all that in the beginning. They want to put the trunks in and all that. No, you paint all the foliage first, that unless you're doing a winter scene. But when you're doing a scene that has foliage, you paint all the foliage first, then add the tree trunk, the tree branches. Yeah, that's quite the opposite of what a lot of people think, because they think they have to control all that and get that drawing. But draw with the brush in a big, expressive, energetic way like this. And when you do that, you're going to be more on track for a more spontaneous looking painting. So I'm going to put this trunk in here. I'm just mapping this out. And then I could take a moment out there and just indicate where the light will be up here with a rag. I have a cotton rag, and I frequently with the acrylics just use a cotton rag instead of paper towels. It's much better anyway for the environment. You could keep using these for many paintings. So I'll get some indication of that. That won't be the final thing, but we just have like a little roadmap of where that dappled light will be. And then I'll keep going, let some of this harden up, and I'll start moving in the direction of the lighter stuff in the background. Still only working with the 1-inch brush. So I'll take, now I'll go to the lemon yellow, cad yellow medium, and a little bit of the phthalo again. Not too much. I don't want to go too crazy there, but it's going to be a much lighter green. And then we're going to splash some of this in. It's a little bit not as watery now. But again, I'm above that hash mark. I keep reminding you guys, just be cognizant of that. If you want a very interesting and dynamic composition, usually go above or below the center line vertically and horizontally, and you'll always do something that's quite interesting. I can mix up this green with a little bit of the raw sienna, and I'm just going to kind of put a little bit of marks in there. You can see that this painting is already developing into something quite interesting in a short amount of time.
And the acrylic that you've already applied is still pretty wet. It doesn't look like it's setting up at all yet.
Yeah, it's not setting up yet. No, it's not setting up. And I actually put the colors out about a half an hour before the demo. So if I need them to be stiffer, they will be stiffer. If they want them to be loose, I can add more color. But the other thing is to, be very generous with the color. Put it out in bigger piles. If you put bigger dollops of it out, you'll find that you'll be able to, even in plein air painting, you'll be able to use that for a couple hours. Mm-hmm. It's a misnomer that it's going to harden up on you, even in the hot, sunny weather. If you put it bigger dollops out, you'll be fine. So I'm going to mix up there's a river here, a stream. I'm going to take some of the phthalo blue, a little bit of the red. Again, keep it kind of neutral. Maybe just a little bit of yellow in there. I'm going to get this kind of like very neutral color over here. And, when I get closer to the end of the demo, I could move the camera in more so you could see the development of the colors a little better. But I have to keep it on the side there in order to keep this thing going. So as I go towards the right, another thing that gives you an immediate sensation of realism is the ability to see the transitional trends from a slightly warmer to a cooler shadow color in the stream here. If you have transitions like that, it really does add to the realism of a scene without a lot of detail, and that's an important thing to note. You can get a lot more mileage out of these brush strokes by just seeing colors changes, transitions from slightly cooler to slightly warmer to slightly cooler, slightly darker to lighter. Now we know on a tree trunk, I'm going to show you something right now, why this is still developing on the bottom here. We can go a little bit lighter at the bottom of the tree trunk, somewhat. You know, that's always going to get a little bit more light generally. And then we'll have room for those dappled light situations as well. So we got all that in, and I think we're still under 10 minutes for that.
You're doing great, Joe.
That's the way to develop a painting. You should have covered most of the situation in a very short time. I look to get when I'm outside painting, I look to get most of the scene developed in the bigger shapes. In the first 10 or 15 minutes, I look for that. I try to accomplish that right off the bat. So if I know I can get that, then I know even if the light changes, I'll be in pretty good shape. That's my aim. So now I'm getting the lighter part of the stream up here, and I switch to 1/2-inch brush.
But it's still a super expensive brush, though, right, Joe?
Yeah, it's very expensive. Yeah. Thanks to the local hardware store.
Yeah. I remember chatting with you at Pace once, and I was like, how do you get so much implied detail in all your marks? And you just went, cheap brushes, Charlie, cheap brushes.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. Yeah, that is true, because these things, if you could keep cleaning them, look at the shape of that thing. It's awful. But guess what? It makes organic marks. So you want that, right? Now, everybody's going to go and buy out all those chip brushes in the hardware store. Okay. So now I have all of the scene kind of in a really sound way. Even if I had to leave the scene outside, it would be great because I already have it all marked out. And if I had a photo, if I had some sort of quick reference of it, I would be able to complete the scene as such. So that's important to mark that stage of the painting. It's just the bigger shapes right there. Now we can go into a little bit more defining things. So I'm looking for the trunk in the background. I'll make it a little bit cooler so that these trunks back here. And if you skip your brush, we're talking about those spontaneous marks. If you skip the brush along, you will make really great tree trunk marks. The problem is that everybody wants to put in all of the trunks, and then they get all kinds of silly with making everything so perfect. But nature's not like that. So if you make it very suggestive, you're going to be on the right track. It'd be much better for the painting, and vary the size of these things too, and the angle, so that you can have a couple trees in the background. See how simple, people? Very simple. And then I'm just suggesting maybe another one on the angle this way. And we could come back to that. That stuff is starting to harden up a little bit, but we're working the whole painting at once, right? So we're going to go to rocks on the shoreline now. So I'll go to white paint, titanium white, and we'll take a little bit of the CAD red light, and maybe a little bit of the warmer yellow, the yellow medium, CAD yellow medium, and we'll just indicate where this shoreline is with the boulders that are on the shoreline. So get this great light popping on the shoreline here. And you want to vary the size of them and vary the shape, right? So you can that variation gives you the organic look to your painting. You want everything to look like nature. You don't want it to be like a machine. Don't keep making the same size marks, and then you get into trouble there where it looks like a machine painted it. You don't want that because it looks very unnatural. So and I'm sure you've heard these things before, but make variations of different marks, sizes. So we have that nice shoreline, and you can already see the light setting up in this scene very well. So we'll start with an initial highlight on this tree trunk, but we're not going to go to the highest part yet as far as the value, but we'll get some light on this smaller trunk here. And I'll actually take paint off the brush and get a little bit drier as I drag it down. And it naturally has a nice transition to the shadier spot of the tree. And sometimes I will actually go in there like I'm doing right now and blend that wet paint, semi-dry, the stuff I initially put down. So we get that nice transition there. And there is also some light down here. And we're setting up where a figure will appear. And again, I'm not overstating these lights because if I do it the right way and the values are not overstated, where that dapple light is, I still have room to even put greater light in the painting. So I'm just indicating where these wonderful pieces of dapple light are. So you initially start with a kind of moderate light, and then you can always go higher. So we're getting that really nice effect.
And Joe, can I ask a question, if this is an appropriate time, just about the integrity of the paint when you put so much water in it? There's been a few people wondering, and a little bit of drip anxiety from people.
No, all good. Great adhesion. Not a factor. It all relates to the surface. If the surface is clean, not oily, acrylic paint in a wash does very well. I've never had any kind of issue with my paintings with the adhesion.
Mm-hmm.
So not even a factor as far as I'm concerned. The drippier, the better. If you get a quality acrylic paint,
mm-hmm.
You're always going to have plenty of room to dilute it as well. So getting this scene in here, getting that dapple light, yeah, that's not a big factor as far as I'm concerned. If the surface is not absorbent enough, and you're not giving the acrylic enough time to dry,
mm-hmm.
then it could be an issue if it's really slick. But the surface that I did this on was gesso,
mm-hmm.
and so that's a good, you're in a good situation with that. Okay, so now I'm going to try to indicate the figure, and I'll start with some of the figure limbs, and just try to, let me see where I want to be. I want to put the arm in. And again, I'm not over committing. I'm just trying to feel out. I'm not thinking about a figure. I have to say it to you guys because you're seeing a demo and you have to know what I'm painting. But when I'm painting, I'm constantly thinking about just shapes and not, I go over that with my students a lot. Don't think about the literal description of the object or the person. Just think about painting shapes, because people somehow, when they put a description on something that they paint, they're going to say, I'm not really good at painting cars. I'm not really good at painting people. Well, that's because you have put too much importance that it's a person or it's a car or this or that. If you focus with the artist's eye on painting the shapes, you're going to do much better. You'll get away from that, and you'll just see shapes, and you'll paint the shapes for what they are instead of just overthinking it and getting nervous about, oh, I can't paint this. I'm never good at painting a figure. Well, a figure is just a bunch of shapes like everything else that we're doing in a painting. And so is a car, and so is a building. So as soon as you take away those descriptions, you do better. Now, I'm working with a number 8 synthetic brush, and I'm going to put the body around these limbs. And because I'm just painting the shape of things, it might not be perfect, but I'll be able to get the essence of a figure in this scene in a short amount of time. So notice I didn't put the smallest part in. I'm painting the bigger shapes. This artist happened to be on a little portable chair. And so I've got most of the figure in there. And then I'm going to put these smaller pieces of what's going on there, which is the head. And it's in the shadow as well. So I'll get that in. And then a hat. And if you're doing whites in a shadow, if you take the unbleached and any blue, you generally get a very nice shadow white. Very easy to come up with that stuff. So I'm going to put a little hat on this person. And it's coming together. It's coming together, people.
It certainly is.
So I got all that established. And then when I go to put in the lighter parts of the figure, I'll let that harden up a little bit. But I'm going to put, there is an easel, a portable easel next to her on by the stream. She's painting the stream. And when you're going out, look for these situations. You know, I like painting other artists' painting. It's pretty cool. I've done a number of these, but it's really cool to try to capture people in the scene painting. Sargent did it. He painted quite a few people in scenes painting paintings, and I think it's just, and so did well, he painted Monet with Monet's wife in a scene, like you know, and he did it in the manner that Monet would paint him. So he did it. He honored him.
That's just showing off, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, he could do it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so now I'm going to bring some light to this area because this is a focal point in the painting. And like I said before, I'll get a little bit drier. I'm not going to spend all my value yet, all my lightest values. I'm going to go with Naples. I mean, the unbleached. I'm going to put that down first. And I won't spend all of my value cash yet. And I don't want, even though the photo tells me that there's light on the edge here, I don't want to draw the eye out of the painting. So I'll stop with the dappled light over here. And I'll just work this area up. So all I'm using right now is the unbleached, the CAD red light, maybe a little bit of warm yellow, and I'm using the synthetic number 8 brush. And as this stuff starts to harden a little bit more or get a little bit stiffer, I could load on drier, a little bit more drier paint here. So you can see the light coming to the painting there. I'm going to turn it just slightly so you could see it more. There's not as much glow on there. You could see that, right? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
good.
And then I'm building this a little bit more up here. So everything's coming together as planned. Now, I'll go back to the rocks in the background. I'll punch them up a little bit more. If you take white and the CAD red light and you make a pinkish white color, you will not get a brighter white than that. So that's really a great way to pump up the volume in a painting. That hot pink warm light is really awesome in a painting. I'm giving you all my secrets.
And we're not charging them, Joe.
I know. I'm giving
I
them
love
all.
it.
I'm
This
giving
is what we
them all.
do here at Art School Live.
We're giving them all the secrets. So now we have this really nice contrast going on in the painting. And this little figure is starting to harden up. I'm going to move to a slightly smaller synthetic, and then I'll work up the figure a little bit more. Let's see how that goes now. Okay.
Yeah, Joe, you made a great post just yesterday, I think, on your Instagram. Everyone, you should check out Joseph Gyurcsak on Instagram. You made a post yesterday just about that seeing shapes of color rather than seeing people or seeing figures or easels or whatever other junk you got in there.
Exactly. Right. If you follow that, you'll be in good shape. Look at the light on that leg right now. I mean, it's just crazy. Beautiful. Getting that beautiful light there and drawing the viewer right to that area. And then we'll put a little bit of light on the arm. A little dapple light here and there. And all of a sudden, a very simplistic figure is taking on importance in the scene. And she has a, you don't have to follow it exactly, but she has a skirt on there. And I'll keep it a little bit redder, which will draw the eye even more to that area. And part of it goes into the shadow, but that's really nice now because we've got all these darks versus all those light areas. Work that up. Again, when I'm working on a acrylic painting like this, the beauty of it is I can move around and then come back to an area and keep adding to this scene after I get all those big drips and stuff going in there. This area down here, there's a little bit light on the ground. And I don't want to cover up all that drip stuff. Remember, we said we're going to save some of that. So I'm just working with a very neutral color right now down here. And I'm not going to take any of that away. I really love that part where it's dripping, really. Where it has dripped. It's very spontaneous. And that's what this lesson is about. You have to know, it's an intuitive thing. I don't know if you could teach it all, but I kind of just, when I'm doing a scene, intuitively know, oh, I'm going to save that. I'm feeling like saving that part. I'm not going to overwork it. It takes a little practice, but through continual study of learning how to economize your mark making and just figuring out what actually needs to be put in instead of thinking that we always have to include everything. will stop you from overworking it. So I'm trying to go with a drier brush now.
Just so you know, Joe, we got about 10 minutes left.
Okay. I better speed it up now. Okay, so I'm going to put the, I don't know where the time has gone. We're having so much fun. Putting the shadows that are coming across the water here. So we got about 10 minutes left. And this is about, I don't know, 12 or 13 by 17, just to give you an idea. I wanted to go a little bit bigger. I find that it's easier to work bigger. But more important than trying to finish everything, what I wanted everybody to see in the video today was inspire you to loosen up and just be a little bit more free with your mark making, and your, think a little bit more broadly in the beginning. Actually, I just finished a workshop in Virginia, and I was talking about it's better to have way more starts than trying to finish the painting, especially when you're in the learning mode. It's better to have really strong starts, and then eventually you figure out how to finish paintings. But if you have a lot of strong starts and then you have paintings that kind of lose their energy, you'll eventually figure that out. But I believe that the most critical part of the painting, just like you saw in the beginning, is the start. So we're putting a little bit more dapple light in here. I'm racing to finish it now.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing how, excuse me, how important the color of the underpainting is as well in your piece.
Yeah, I rely on that a lot.
Did you pre-select that color for this scene, or is it just a go-to that you enjoy?
I like the warmer tones for the organic situation where it's going to be a landscape. I do like that. I prefer that warmer tone. But I've been working with a neutral gray too. On that new post on Instagram, that was a neutral gray, and it works very well too. So we're going to put in a little bit. If you take both yellows together and the 𝗕𝗿𝗂, you get and a little bit of the 𝗕𝗿𝘂𝗀𝗀, you get some really nice green variations here that you usually wouldn't come up with. So again, I'm dancing, making that brush dance with the half-inch brush on the scene, and I can go a little cooler. And this is, for talking and doing this, it's a lot to cover in a short amount of time. But I think the biggest part of this was I wanted to show in a quick demo how fast you could develop some painting with major decision making in a more economy way. There's some leaves up here.
And the reality is, when you're outside painting dappled light, because the light shifts so fast through the dappled, you're going to need to paint this quickly anyway if you've seen this scene.
Right, and with enough practice, you will build up that speed. And if you become familiar with how things look, I don't want to say totally come up with a system. Every painting is different, but at least you'll have a general idea. And I hope that this lesson today provides some insight to those who are wanting to try that, outside and not too sure about how they would proceed. This should give you a pretty good idea of like how to block that in and get that going. So really charging the painting, the light, in that short amount of time. Getting that lemon yellow on that shoreline. And I need a little bit of a transition from this shadow. I think Charlie's going to give me more time.
Oh, Joe, I could watch you paint all day. It's a manufactured constraint, this.
Give me more time. Okay, now I'm putting in some of this transition shadow here. And on that stream. And if you really got to get good darks, we'll go over that real fast. And then I'll try to finish. How much time do we have?
Yeah, we're probably at like 6 minutes left.
Oh, we're doing good. All right. So I put some of this shadow. If you have 3 stages of transitions in organic stuff, dark, medium, and light, you'll always get a good looking organic, whatever, plant or this or that. So it's good to have at least 3 different varieties. And also, like I talked about, the transparent, semi-transparent. I'm putting these darks in the tree now to make that really come forward. How I'm doing that is taking the cad red light and the phthalo, and I got these really strong darks which I could suggest in there for that. And right at the end, I'll show you other sketches of this painting that I did prior to show you where I took that before we finish. But I'm going to try to get, before we do this one thing that I feel will really bring the figure out, I'm going to get a little bit of light on that on the figure, on the hat. So that stuff is drying. And just a little dappled light on the hat. An accent, I call. That's really nice there. So that brings out that, and then I'll put a little bit more on the flesh. Not all on the arm, but just some dappled light. Again, effect. So you really get that sensation. In a very simple, if you were in my studio, you would see that this is very simple, the notes, but it actually portrays a figure. That's what you want to do. You want to try to figure out how to get to that very quickly.
And one of the things I will toot your horn with, Joe, is that the accuracy of your drawing, and that's not to say line, the edges of your shapes. I think through repetition, you're a very, very good drawer, and that makes certainly your interiors. It's so important.
Right, and that's an important point, Charlie. Drawing, learning. I always say that I'm a preacher of that. Learning, most important to draw with the brush is the biggest thing, because in the end, when you're going live painting like we're doing right now, you have to have the ability to draw with the brush and bring out the light sensation or whatever you're dealing with. You have to have the ability to get that sensation there. So I think we're getting close to the end of time, but yeah. Here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this more frontal view of this, and this flatter. Oh, that's not working. Let me see if we can move this. So you can see that scene there. The head is kind of, we're running out of time, but it's kind of getting a little bit lost in the, I think, in the glare of my window here, right. But I can see it. I'm trying to turn it so that it works better for you guys, but it's
looking good. There is definitely a little bit of glare from the window, but
a little glare there. But if I'll put in these so you can see them.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So yeah, this one is with the phthalo green instead of the phthalo blue,
Interesting.
and it changes it, makes the whole thing cooler because that's a blue shade phthalo green. And then this one is with the same palette as I use now. Just another, wait, I'm trying to get that.
Another version of it.
Yeah, another version of it.
Yeah, it's the
clear.
Joe, the implied detail given by the space in the brush and the drips and the luminosity of the underpainting popping through really kind of adds to the perceived complexity of the scene.
Right. Yeah, that's it. I'm putting down the shade, so maybe it's not as much glare. I think that helped, right?
That's
Okay. So anyway, if I have a minute more, I'm just going to get a little bit more in the head there.
Sounds good.
Just a little bit more, just to bring this out. Yeah, that helped. And then I'm going to put the little band on the hat so it's not lost to the river. So anyway.
Fantastic.
Okay, just at the end, this is what I used. These 4 brushes, the ½ inch, the inch, the 8-inch round synthetic, and the number 4 round synthetic. So I got that. And initially, if you are going to do any kind of drawing, you take I like to do like a number 4 pencil in there. But
Fantastic.
I'm going to switch back to the studio camera. And
there we go, Joe. Thank you so much for doing that.
You can actually see it good on there. You could see without that camera. Here you go. You can actually see.
Alan, can you just go back to full screen, Joe? Yeah, there you go. You can see a little bit more intensity in the darks as well in there.
Exactly. The contrast is better there.
Yeah.
You want me to switch back to the other one?
No, that's good. I think we got to probably press on now, Joe. But it'd be great. I don't know if you were planning on posting that as a story on your Instagram. Just a reminder for people to check out at Joseph Gyurcsak and also josephgyurcsak.com. By the way, Joe, I love the way that you refer to yourself, as everyone does, in the third person on your website. I love the way that you talk about Mr. Gyurcsak. I think that's great. I'm going to be doing that from now on. And I should have been calling you Mr. Gyurcsak all today.
Oh, God, please don't do that. I'm known as Joe G because I can't even pronounce my last name.
Oh, there you go. Well, I've tried at least today, Joe.
Anyway,
thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. And I hope everybody that's watching got something out of it.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? One thing I'll say is Joe is going to be on, I believe you're on the faculty at Acrylic Live, aren't you, Joe?
Correct.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, I'm going to be co-hosting that, and that's going to be from March 26th to 28th. You're going to see Joe demoing again in acrylic. I mean, I really think one of the best acrylic painters out there. And so what he's taught us today and what you'll learn at Acrylic Live, it's invaluable stuff. So thank you so much. There's also a bunch of other great artists going to be on there as well. Anne Blair Brown, Carla Bosch, Jed Dorsey, Mike Hernandez, who's awesome, Kevin McPherson, Amy Erickson's going to be on there. There's a ton of people. So go to acryliclive.com and check that out. Other things to mention. Yeah, we've got a gift for you. You got to download this free ebook that Eric has put together. It's 201 essential plein air painting tips. So you can go to pleinairmagazine.com/ebook to download that. Another thing I'm going to mention is you need to join Cami Mendlick, Carol Peebles, and host Carrie Stober from Streamline for a 1-hour conversation to discuss how to find your authentic voice and grow your art career. That's on Wednesday, October 16th. Yesterday, I said October 12th. It's October 16th at 2 p.m., and that'll be great. So reserve your spot today. Go to streamlineartevents.com/roundtable. One other thing to mention is, and this is a bit of a plug, but it's also a request. I'm going to be recording an acrylic video with Streamline soon, so we need your help. I think in the chat, Amandine is going to post a link to a poll, and we need you to help decide which painting you want me to go and paint, or at least which kind of scene you want me to paint, whether it's exactly that image or not. So go and vote. Amandine's going to post that link in the comments. If you're not able to view the comments right now, you can go to the PaintTube TV website, and you can, or at least the Instagram, and you can follow the link in the bio to go to that. But yeah, it'd be great to get your feedback on that. So yeah, everyone, don't forget to subscribe to this channel at Art School Live on YouTube and at Eric Rhodes on Instagram. And yeah, just finally, another thank you to Joe for coming on and teaching us some great tips about how to use expressive brushwork and how to leave space in your painting for the eye and the viewer to really absorb all the details of a complex scene in a way that's actually been quite quick to paint. You know, you saw there, Joe got so much of the bones of his painting down in probably the first 15 minutes, and it's a great learning for all of us. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to Eric for letting me host today, and we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we got 𝗕𝗿𝗂𝘁𝗲, who is a friend of mine and a really good gouache painter. We started the week with 𝗕𝗿𝗵𝗂𝘂𝘀𝗵, who works in animation, and it is really, you know, she did some great work, really clear, concise work in gouache. Jesse's of the same vein, and I think there's a ton that we can learn from animators. So see you tomorrow. Thanks again for tuning into Art School Live.